I've been to see him. He looks a lot like you.
A scattered dream that's like a far-off memory. A far-off memory that's like a scattered dream. I want to line the pieces up. Yours and mine.
Don't you want to know the truth? About who you really are?
What did you do? What did you do to him?
The Keyblade. A truly marvelous weapon.
Roxas. I'm out of time.
Why did you call me Roxas?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Only you could have made it this far in one piece.
Best friends forever.
You make a good other.
Okay, alrighty. So, okay, before we start, I need to get my music ready real quick. So give me 1 second, and then we will go ahead and get started. So give me a second. Let me go ahead and get my things real quick. Oh, I did not want to do that. Didn't want to do that. Okay. So let's play this out. Get my song ready. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. Okay, let's get my... No. Okay, hang on. Y'all just gotta love advertisements, right? Everyone just gots to love advertisements just being a problem. Wait. No, I did not want that either. Where did that come from? Hang on. Oh, whoa. Not that either. Okay, there we go. Okay, let me go ahead and loop it. Okay. Alright. Okay. Now, get a nice good old photo of Roxas out. Okay. Now we are ready. Now we're ready to go. We're ready to roll. We're ready. Anyway. Hello, everybody. Hello. Howdy. Welcome on in. Welcome to the 10th episode of my Kingdom Hearts podcast, the Paopu Scoop, where I like to sit down here and discuss theories and lore from Kingdom Hearts on every 13th day in a month. So, last time... So last time, I was here with my good friend Empowered Muse. We were having a little Kingdom Hearts 4 discussion. This is something that we planned while we were at Reconnect. So if you guys have not seen that episode, be sure to go ahead and check it out. It was a really great time, but also please go follow Em. She also makes some amazing content for Kingdom Hearts as well. Really a good friend of mine, so please go follow her if you haven't. So, first off, I want to say thank you so much for 10 episodes of my Kingdom Hearts podcast. I know this year, well, technically this month, I just hit 20 episodes over on my Zelda podcast. I hit 20 episodes. So this month, I officially hit 10. So thank you so much for most of you guys tuning into both the Zelda podcast and the Kingdom Hearts one as well. You know, I really do enjoy doing this. It's been really fun. It's been a wild ride. I really am enjoying this. So thank you guys so much. It really does mean a lot to me for most of y'all tuning in, whether you guys have been watching this on Twitch, watching this on YouTube by the time it gets uploaded. Thank y'all so much for always tuning in. So, to celebrate the 10th episode of my Kingdom Hearts, of this specific podcast for Kingdom Hearts, today we are going to be discussing my new personal favorite character in the Kingdom Hearts series, and that is Roxas. I mean, obviously we know about Roxas. You hear the music playing right now. So, you probably are thinking, why did I pick Roxas? Why did I pick Roxas when I could have, like, you know, talked about somebody else? You know, I could have talked about Sora. I could have talked about Kairi, or maybe Naminé, or maybe another character. But the real question is, why did I pick Roxas? So, my reason why I picked Roxas was to celebrate something that I did earlier this year after the events of Reconnect. So, for context, first off, I would like to give a big shout out to my good friend Folsey Fantasy, who's celebrating his birthday. So I'm going to go ahead and shout him out right now. Really fantastic friend of mine. He's an awesome dude. And honestly, he is the reason why I got to finish my first playthrough of 358 over 2 days during my off time. So 2 years ago, for context, I bought myself a copy of 358 over 2 days at a retro gaming store, and my cartridge was broken. My cartridge did not want to work. So when I talked about it on stream, Folsey came in. This, by the way, this happened in 2023. By the way, before Reconnect over in Dallas. So Folsey comes into the stream. He's like, you know what? I got you. So this is the first time I actually got to meet Folsey in person. So I talked to Folsey. Folsey gives me the game, and he's like, here you go, buddy. And he gives me a complete copy of 358 over 2 days. Box and everything. And it's like, of course, it's a working cartridge. I even tested it. And it worked. So I was like, finally, I can finally play this game. So earlier this year, I was thinking about, hey, I really wanted to finish 358 over 2 days, because in the past, I got to like most people, I got to experience the cinematics through the 1.5, 2.5 collection, and I didn't breathe. I was doing my best to understand it, because I know, like, when you watch the cinematics, like, yeah, the cutscenes are excellent. There's like dialogue that talks about each of the missions, so like saying stuff like, oh, Roxas, went on a mission like with Axel or Luke's sword or somebody, and then this happened and this happened and this happened. But the thing is, you don't get to like see it. And when I got to actually play Days on my 3DS XL, I totally got it. Like, I totally got to understand it. Like, I got to understand what Roxas got to go through as a character. I got to experience his whole entire character arc throughout Days. I mean, not just with Roxas, but like, most of the other members of the organization, especially, with Axel and Shion, I totally got to understand them. I got to experience everything that they all went through in Days, which honestly was really unique. And when I finished Days, I want to say this was like, I want to say it was like about a month and a half ago, or somewhere close to 2. No, I want to say about a month and a half ago. I finished Days, and I was talking to my good friend and mod, Sora. I told him, I was like, Sora, I get it now. I totally get it. And he was like, honestly, you're going to experience everything with the Seesaw Trio just by playing the game. And I was like, I get it. Like, I got to feel everything that, like, each of the characters were going through, and it felt good. So, big shout out to Folsey for giving me a copy that actually works. This took place 2 years ago. Big shout out to my buddy Folsey. Love you, dude. You are so awesome. And, of course, I want to say real quick, I am definitely wearing a Mario shirt today, because by the time of this recording, today actually happens to be the 40th anniversary of the Mario series. 40 years of the original Mario Brothers on NES releasing in Japan. So I would like to quickly say, I know this is a Kingdom Hearts podcast, but I want to say real quick, happy 40 years to Super Mario! Woohoo! I just want to say that super quick. Just to show, my appreciation to the Mario series as well. But going back to Kingdom Hearts, I see Jacko has entered the chat. Jacko, welcome on in. Says, I made cinnamon rolls. Well, I hope you got a lot to share for the class, because today we are discussing Kingdom Hearts, Jacko. We are talking about a really cool character. Honestly, a lot of people, like, when I meet Kingdom Hearts fans, I like to talk to people, people usually say, like, oh, who's their favorite character? Someone say, like, you know, like Riku or Sora or Axel, you know, and like, but most of the time, you know, I get to hear that Roxas is definitely in the top 5 for sure, or Roxas says he's their favorite, you know, and you know, after my experience with Days, you know, Roxas became my new personal favorite character because I totally got him. I got to understood him like the rest of the cast of Days. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to say real quick, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, please don't forget to do the following by liking, sharing, subscribing, as it really helps. And come say hi to me on Twitch. I'm live every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I do podcasts over on Twitch and then upload them to YouTube the next day on every 3rd day and every 13th day in the month. 3rd day for Zelda, 13th day for Kingdom Hearts. So today, of course, you know, we're discussing Kingdom Hearts. We are discussing Roxas today. We're talking about Roxas' story and to why, you know, I see him as quote-unquote a good other, as like he says to Sora in Kingdom Hearts 2. Jacko says in Twitch chat, I do. Cinnamon rolls for everyone. Well, I hope you brought plenty for everybody. Especially me, because for us, not only having cinnamon rolls, according to Jacko, but we're also going to be having some sea salt ice cream while we're discussing discussing Roxas. Also, Jacko, thank you for collecting your daily rupee in the Twitch chat. So everyone, grab yourself some sea salt ice cream. Come on, take a walk with me, and let's go talk about Roxas together. So, let's discuss Roxas. Also, I see Crazy Comics in the chat. Comics, good to see you, man. I hope you are doing extremely well. Always a pleasure to see you around on Twitch. I'm going to definitely give you a big shout out because Comics is honestly one of the nicest people I ever met. Such an awesome dude. Awesome Kingdom Hearts content creator. A very talented musician, by the way. So please, you guys are not following Crazy Comics, do yourselves a favor. Show some support and love to the homie. Comics, good to see you, man. I hope you are doing well. Thank you for tuning in. So anyway, Comics says, doing good, dude. Working hard to learn jazz drumming in a month. Ooh, you totally got this, dude. You know what? I'll say this real quick, Comics. When I was in high school, you know, I also was in percussion myself, and I even auditioned to play drums for the high school jazz band. Of course, I didn't get in. My friend did. But I think that's really cool that you're going to be practicing for that. So I wish you the best of luck for that. You totally got this. And enjoy your work, dude. Thank you so much for tuning in. You are awesome. Let's catch up real soon. So Roxas. So if we're going to be discussing Roxas today, we got to take it back to how it all started, you know? Let's take it back from the beginning and how it started. So the creation of Roxas. So we know that Roxas is Sora's nobody. But how did this come to be? So, spoilers for those who have not played Kingdom Hearts 1, whether you're playing the original or Final Mix. So, spoilers for those who have not touched Kingdom Hearts 1. So, in Hollow Bastion, after Sora's confrontation with Ansem Riku in Hollow Bastion, Sora obtains Riku's Keyblade. I believe it's called Key to Heart, right? Yeah, feel free to correct me on that if I'm wrong. Feel free to correct me on that. So, Sora stabs himself with Riku's Keyblade to release Kairi's heart that was within him. Because Sora, you know, later on, you know, before, you know, Ansem Riku's fight, you know, Sora finally learns that Kairi has been inside him the whole time, while he's out going to other worlds trying to find him. So, Sora uses dang it. I'm talking too fast. Sora uses Riku's Keyblade to stab himself to release Kairi's heart. And at the cause of this, Sora was able to turn himself into a Heartless, but it was only just for a brief moment. You know, he got to experience what being a Heartless was like, and then later on, it was because of Kyrie's light that he was able to come back. And because of this is where Roxas was born. Roxas finally became Sora's nobody. So that's how the whole thing started from Kingdom Hearts 1. And then, now we're going to jump forward to Days. This is definitely where a lot of things just take place in Days, especially for Roxas' character arc. So, in some scenes throughout Kingdom Hearts, we've seen Roxas, outside of the old mansion in Twilight Town, and, right in front of him is a hooded figure who says, I can give you purpose. And later on, we know that the hooded figure is Xemnas, the leader of Organization 13. So, Xemnas is the one who confronts Roxas, saying, I can give you a purpose, giving him his name, giving him the sigil, or, aka the X, giving him the name Roxas, or in which, in this case, Xemnas calls him the new you. The new you. And then from there on, Roxas is then recruited to be a member of the Organization 13, their 13th member. So all that plays out. And then going around the few days of 358, I guess we can say around this time, Roxas was still trying to discover who he was. And I feel like that the whole purpose of Days was to figure out Roxas's existence. Because, at the beginning of Days, as what Axel or Roxas would say, Roxas felt like a zombie, he was still trying to learn about who he was, discovering his purpose in life, trying to, exist, exist as just being, not only as a member of Organization 13, but also being a nobody. So, it definitely took him a while to kind of, experience all that, experience the kind of person he really is. Because at this time, Roxas, it took a while for Roxas to, learn about himself. So he got to understand emotions. And this sort of situation began to blossom during his time with Axel. So when he was spending time with Axel, Roxas got to learn about, some emotions, some feelings. And the first thing he learned was friendship. And I felt like that, because to me, when I look at Days, I feel like is the term friendship is the key to understanding the entirety of Days. Because, Roxas, Xion, and Axel, their friendship is just so strong. It's so greater than you realize. It's just expands on that. But going forward to a character like Roxas, Roxas gets to learn about friendship with Axel. Axel telling him, saying so oh, you deserve the icing of the cake. Which of course, that's where Axel introduces to Roxas, sea salt ice cream. And that's where the friendship begins, where, you can see both Roxas and Axel sitting on top of the clock tower, gazing over at the sunset, while just enjoying ice cream, something that friends would do, And and then of course, when Axel was assigned to go to Castle Oblivion to go annihilate the traitors, Roxas was okay with just Axel just not being around. So, and around this time, this is when their 14th member of the organization finally joins, and this is where Xion comes into play. So, Roxas, and just like Roxas, Xion also kind of felt like a zombie in a sort of way, not many people kind of knew who she was. Everybody just said oh, she's the 14th member of the organization, as recruited by Xemnas. So, number 14, Xion. So, when Roxas went on a mission with her, Roxas was pretty much just like, I have somewhere I have to be. Obviously, he's addressing that he was going to go, go sit on the clock tower, eating some ice cream while Axel is absent, And during that time, where before Roxas leaves, what is one of the first things that Shion says to Roxas? She says his name. She's like, Roxas, that's your name. And that's where, I feel like that slowly she starts to slowly open up, even though she kind of does feel like a zombie. She definitely takes her hoodie off, to where Roxas can actually see her face and what she looks like. And then they start going on missions together. And during that one scene in Days where Roxas and Shion are outside the station in Twilight Town, to where they're fighting Darkseid. Shion is shown using the Keyblade, and Roxas is just like, wow, I didn't even know you could even use one. And even Shion, Shion felt a little bit confused. She's like, yeah, neither did I. And then, to me, this is where Roxas begins to copy a little bit of Axel's mannerisms, where he's like, he's like, you know what, you deserve the icing on the cake, and even Roxas at the beginning, Shion was like, huh, what are you talking about? So Roxas kind of carried that tradition of friendship, saying something that Axel would say, hey, hey, Shion, you deserve the icing on the cake, thus inviting her to the clock tower, introducing her to sea salt ice cream, and telling her stuff yeah, this is what me and Axel like to do, once we are done with work, we like to sit here and enjoy the sunset, because this is what friends do, So, so he kind of carries that tradition. So, Roxas, I think he's starting to grow out of that habit of kind of feeling like a zombie, like he was around the beginning of Days. So he's becoming more, excuse me, I'm so sorry. So he starts to become more open, he's starting to have some emotions. He's more open. He's coming to more open, and I feel like that, just spending time with Axel, Axel was, not only is a good friend to him, but Axel was was to me, in my opinion, Axel was a role model for Roxas. Because honestly, if it wasn't for Axel, Roxas wouldn't be able to experience what being friends with somebody is like. And I even did an episode on Axel being the perfect best friend, which, by the way, if you guys have not seen that episode, y'all should definitely go check it out. Definitely check out that episode that I did on Axel. It was really, really cool. I had a good time talking about Axel. And maybe one of these days, one day I'll begin talking about Shion one day. One day very soon. We'll discuss Shion. Jacko says in Twitch chat, Shion is one of the more obscure characters. Jacko, I agree with that to an extent. Because I really do like Shion. I do like Shion, though, because I'll tell you this, though. During my experience with Days, Shion also became, not only my new favorite female character in Kingdom Hearts, but she's also is my second favorite. So if I were to give you my top 3 characters now, Jacko, so first place would be Roxas, second place would be Shion, and then third would be Sora. So that would be my top 3. My top 3 characters in the Kingdom Hearts series. But, but yeah, I totally get you. Shion is a really interesting character. Just like how in Days, you get to learn more about both Roxas, Axel, and Shion, and including the rest of the members of Organization 13. You get to know them. You get to experience them. It's like when you play Days, you get to experience their lifestyle, the kind of people that they really are. And then but going back to what you were saying, Jacko, Shion definitely is really, really interesting. And honestly, it sucks about everything that she had to go through. But looking at a character like Roxas, you know, his story is just really, really sad. You know, it's such a tragedy about everything that he had to go through. It's just really, really sad. Like, honestly, it really fucking sucks when you think about it that the Sea Salt Trio gone through so much shit. It's really, really sad, man. And that's why, you know, a lot of people really vibe with him. A lot of people relate with him. Yeah, you know, some people can say, like, yeah, you know, the Destiny Trio is my favorite. Or if you're Team Wayfinder with Terra, Ventus, and Aqua. But if there is one trio that I know from some of the people within the Kingdom Hearts community that I've met, either on Twitch or in person, like at Reconnect, for example, I've seen people say that Sea Salt is their favorite. And during my experience with Days, again, I was like, you know, I get it now. I totally get it. I totally understand it. I totally understand these characters now. And it's sad, you know? It's really, really, really sad. I'm like, I was like, I've been there. I've been there now. I've experienced it. I've experienced it all. But, you know, going back to Roxas, so with Roxas, you know, in Days, you know, he starts to develop, you know, even though he is a nobody, you know, he's definitely like, I feel like that, you know, in most other cases, you know, he gets to learn about himself. He gets to, you know, understand his existence and all that stuff. But even some stuff that are like in his diary, you know, in Days, which, by the way, you know what? Why don't we go ahead and look at some up right now? I would like to definitely look some up right now. Let me see. Okay. Roxas's diary. You know, I want to find some good ones that I would definitely like to share. Let's go find some together. Let's find some good ones. Let's see. That's day 7 where he feels like he's a zombie. There's that. Okay, there's one with Axel. Axel's going to Castle Oblivion on day 22. Oh, excuse me. Go away. Shoo. Thank you. Shoo. Okay. Teamed up with number 14 today. This is where he fought, like, day 24. You know, he gets to know, he's starting to learn about, Shion. He definitely learned Shion. Like, he doesn't know, like, he's just learning about her. Third, you know, day 25, learning about Shion. Now, this one right here, I feel like that this one is definitely an important one. Day 26. I think this one is a really good diary entry for Roxas, because it says right here, and I quote, "I only remember part of this day. I heard somebody sent to Castle Oblivion was terminated. Sai said it may have been Axel. I tried to ask Zigbar about it on the day's mission, which, keep in mind, this was a mission to where both him and Zigbar were in Agrabah. And he said nothing's left of nobody's once we're gone, because we have no hearts to leave behind. I don't remember much after that. They say I collapsed and wouldn't wake up." So, you know, there is a reason why Roxas actually collapsed on that day in Agrabah. Because to me, you know, we got to keep in mind, you know, the days of Shaded Memories are still playing out to where Sora and Riku are in Castle Oblivion. You know, and around that time, you know, Sora still has his false memories. But the reason why Roxas collapsed, the real reason why Roxas collapsed is because around that time, this is where Sora is finally sleeping in the pod. Sora is finally asleep in the pod, and his memories are slowly beginning to become restored. So that's why it affected him. You know, so it's kind of, so to me, you know, it's kind of like that connection. And I feel like I'm probably going to say that a lot in this episode of this podcast. Connection. I definitely want to hold on to that a lot, because I feel like this is definitely a key to Roxas's character. You know, You know, that is definitely the key to Roxas' character. Connection. And we honestly are going to get to that when we get to Kingdom Hearts 3, where Roxas tells Zenith, you know, there was one thing I needed in order to return. A connection. So I feel like I'm definitely will be saying that a lot in this episode where we talk about connection. And I feel like that's going to be very, very important. Now that is pod raising, says Jacko. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. Looking at Twitch chat, I see Spider Goof is in the chat. Spider, welcome on in, buddy. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're talking about Roxas today. We're talking about Roxas' character throughout Kingdom Hearts. So you came just in time. We are discussing Roxas. You know, and then later on, you know, when after Roxas, you know, awakens from his coma, you know, we see like Xion is there with him, you know, and she starts to become more, you know, she honestly does the same thing that Roxas did back when Xion was a zombie, you know, Roxas starts to become more open, you know, well, when Roxas was asleep. You know, she starts to become more often. She becomes a little bit more open with him. You know, like going up to him saying like, oh, you know, like today, you know, I did this. You know, I went to the beach. I collected some seashells. And she even shares that with him. And there's that one scene in particular. And you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. There's that one scene to where both Roxas and Xion are sitting on top of the clock tower. And you see Roxas picking up a seashell and landing it close to his ear like this. And then that's when, you know, he has like that vision. You know, there's like that vision of both like, you know, Sora and Kairi sitting together, you know, in Destiny Islands. You know, because to me, that is slowly coming together. Because like Sora's memories are being slowly restored. It's slowly coming together, you know. Like, it's slowly starting to form. Like, Sora, you know, Sora's having his memories restored while he's asleep in the pod. Spider says, yes, Roxas, the goat himself. You know, Spider, you have good taste because Roxas definitely is the goat himself. Roxas is a really great character, and you came in at a perfect time to where we are, this entire episode, we are going to be talking about him. And also, Spider, thank you for collecting your daily rupee today. Thank you so much for doing it. Thank you for always coming in and collecting your daily rupee. So, you know, like, I feel like that slowly over time, you know, the memories are slowly coming back, you know, to Sora. They're slowly coming back. So let me see. You know what? Let's find some other diary entry. Of course, we're not going to go through all of them because honestly, because if we did, we'd be here forever. We'll be here for a long time. You know, we'll be here. You know, we'll be here for a long time. Like, here's another. You know, here's another one that really catches my interest from Roxas' diary, where he says, "I sit up on the clock tower on day 52, ice cream alone. I sit up on the clock tower, but no one comes. Not Axel, not even Xion. That weird lump in my throat will go away. Something else is bothering me. This is gonna sound crazy. Good thing this is a private diary. But these pictures keep flashing through my head. Not all the time, just sometimes, ever since I collapsed. It happens when I'm awake too, on missions. So I don't think it's a dream. Where are these pictures coming from?" And you know what? I feel like that from Roxas' point of view, these are all the memories of Sora that are just slowly coming together. Now, I'm trying to remember if this is the right day or not. I know it's one of them. There is one of the days that happens where Roxas has his vision. You know, he has his vision. I'm trying to remember what day it was, and you guys can tell me which day it is. And y'all know exactly what I'm talking about, what I'm going to say. So, Roxas has this vision where he sees Sora. You see Sora and Riku and Hollow Bastion in Kingdom Hearts 1. You know, to where, you know the scene where Sora, you know, loses his Keyblade, Riku has it, and then Riku just tosses him like a wooden sword, and then Donald and Goofy just straight up just ditch Sora just to go with Riku, you know? Because I feel like, you know, that with that scene alone, you know, I just feel like, you know, that's like maybe around that time, you know, Roxas definitely feels abandonment, or maybe he just doesn't want to be alone, you know? So that could definitely be a reason why he actually had that vision, you know? Like I said, I'm trying to remember which day it was to where he actually has that vision now. And feel free to let me know. Feel free to let me know either in Twitch chat or in the YouTube comments. Let me know which day it is. Because it's been a month and a half since I finished Days. My first playthrough. Which honestly, you know what? I honestly wouldn't mind playing it again. Because I think it's a good game. It's Saturday. I mean, well, yeah, I mean, today it is Saturday, but I meant in Kingdom Hearts, Jocko. Let me see. Let's find some good ones. Let's see. Shion. The Three of Us. State 74. This is where he goes to search for Shion. Let's see. Went to Agrabah today with Shion. Mission with Zigbar. You know what? You know, there is something I want to show. To where I purposely feel we gotta talk about connections. We gotta talk about connections. Let me see. Let's see. I'm gonna find this scene real quick. 358 over 2 days. Roxas and Xemnas. There is a scene to where... okay. This one. Okay, I would like to watch this scene. Oh. Okay, don't do that. Okay, yeah, I definitely do want to watch this because I feel like this is important for being able for Roxas to understand connection. Which is definitely is a word I'm definitely going to be, again, bringing up a lot. Okay, let me see. Is it this one? Let me see. Yeah, it's this one. It's this one. Okay. It is this one. Okay. Okay. Actually, you know what? Let me... Hang on a minute. Let me adjust my webcam real quick so y'all can see more of it. Yeah, let me adjust that. Okay. Let's watch it. Here we go.
I need to know.
About what?
Shion. Tell me what happened to her.
Shion is a valued member of the organization, but she needs her rest. So worry not.
Of course, Xemna's not going to tell her what really... Xemna's not going to tell him what really happened.
Sora.
Sora. Who is Sora?
The connection.
There's that word again.
He is what makes you and Shion a part of each other's lives. And the reason I placed Shion among our number. If you want her to stay that way, I must insist. You get your mind off these needless distractions. I will have Shion return to her duties tomorrow. Today, you must focus on yours.
Understood.
Oops. Okay. That's all I wanted to share. Oops. Okay. Yeah, that's all I wanted to share real quick. So, now we get it though, you know. Roxas is definitely starting to understand about who Sora is. And it's like I was saying before at the beginning of this episode, connection is going to be a big role, you know. Connection's going to be a big role for Roxas. You know, having a connection with Axel, with Shion, definitely later on with Sora, you know, and Naminé and a bunch of other characters. But connection is definitely is like a key role. It's a key word. And obviously we know because of KH3 plus Remind, that connection is definitely is one of the reasons why, you know, Roxas returns in Kingdom Hearts 3. You know? Which honestly does make a lot of sense. Which I think is really, really great. Excuse me. Let me see. I'm gonna look through more. Let's see. Vacation. Got the winter stick. Too precious to lose. What makes this different? I don't get it. No taste for it. What's love? You know, that's another good one. You know, this is definitely another good one where Shion, where Shion actually collapsed. So, you know, so when you do think about it, you know, so in a way, you know, Roxas and Shion definitely tend to they kind of connect with one another. They kind of do the same thing, being able to use Keyblades and just being there for each other. Like when Shion collapsed, what did Roxas do? Roxas even brought her a seashell, just like how Shion did for Roxas, you know, when he was collapsing in that coma. So, you know, and we know about, you know, Shion's creation and all, you know, where they have that connection because, you know, because the one thing that they do have in common in terms of powers is they have that connection with Sora. You know, they all have a connection with Sora. You know, that connection is just, it's just really, really strong, you know? But connection, it just plays a key part for both Roxas and Shion, since they are a part of Sora. But Days just really hits it hard with the connection, you know? Now, kind of jumping forward, you know, throughout the end of 358 over 2 days, you know, where Roxas is going to fight Shion, you know, what is the thing that Roxas sees on Shion's face? She sees Sora's face, right? He sees the face of Sora through Shion, where she's telling Roxas, Roxas, I'm out of time, you know, because this is her time to go back. This is her time for her to go back with Sora. And even she tells Roxas where she's okay, you know, put an end to me. And you know what? During my experience with Days, that kind of got me thinking. And that sounded very familiar. Because do y'all remember that one scene in Wonderland where Zigbar confronts Shion, and when he looks at her, you know, he sees Ventus. You know, he definitely sees Ventus. So one thing that kind of, you know, there's a connection with that line where Shion is you know what? Put an end to me. Because when you do think about it, that is the legit same thing that Ventus said in Birth by Sleep to both Terra and Aqua, you know, in the Keyblade Graveyard, where he tells them both, you know what? You know, where he's I'm asking you as a friend, put an end to me. And then, you know, you hear Ventus tell that to Terra and Aqua, and now Shion is doing the same thing for Roxas, where she's put an end to me. Get rid of me. You know, and you know, Roxas and Shion have their fight. You know, Shion, you know, dies, and she finally goes back with Sora, to where she even tells Roxas, where she's you know, do not let Xemnas have his way on finding or getting to Kingdom Hearts and letting them collect those hearts. Don't let him do it. You know. Looking at Twitch chat, I see Jericho has joined in. Jericho, welcome on in. Thank you for tuning in to the podcast today. We're talking about Roxas. Welcome on in, Jericho. Welcome on in. And even Jericho comes in with an intro into the podcast saying, there's legit so many things that would have never existed without Roxas, like special abilities, and we see all other people use technically are derived from it. Exactly, you know, because honestly, when you do think about it, You know, like right after Shion's disappearance, you know, it was because of that reason, and I could be wrong on this. Feel free to correct me on this. You know, because Shion, like now that Shion is gone, you know, Roxas was able to wield not just one Keyblade, but two of them. So he was able to wield both the Oathkeeper and the Oblivion. So obviously we know that he definitely turns his back in the organization, because he's not going to let Xemnas have his way. But while he's going to go approach Xemnas, you know, as he's making his way to the world that never was, this is where he finally confronts Riku. So both Roxas and Riku definitely do have their battle, because now that Shion is back with Sora, so that way all of Sora's memories can be restored in the restoration room, Roxas is the only one left, right? Roxas is left. So in order for for Sora to reawaken from his slumber, Roxas needs to go back with Sora. So Roxas and Riku definitely have their confrontation. They have their battle in the world that never was. And we get to experience both, we get to experience, Sora actually speaking through Roxas, There's that one scene where, Riku tries to call out Sora in Roxas, where he's like, come on, Sora. And then Roxas is like, get real. Look at which one of us is winning. And then Roxas is he's questioning in his mind. It's where did that come from? Because we know that is Sora speaking through Roxas, Sora is speaking through Roxas. So that slowly means is that Sora is starting to slowly get his memories back. It's slowly starting to come out of him. So Riku was able to pull a piece out of Roxas to get Sora to come out, because the whole purpose of Days, especially throughout the rest of Kingdom Hearts, is that Roxas got, at first, he was a little bit confused, trying to learn about who he was, being a nobody for the organization, starting to question his own existence, because I feel like that's another word too, in terms of Roxas' character arc, along with connection, is existence. Being able to exist and find out that he's himself. That's why he tells Riku, he's like, I am me, nobody else, because he's saying, he's not Sora, he's his own character. So he goes through a lot of pain, so much hurt. He deals with connections, but he definitely is, starting to realize his existence, especially in the beginning where he first meets Xemnas in Twilight Town outside the old mansion, where Xemnas is the one who gives him the sigil, where he's like, I can give you purpose, it's just it honestly is a lot, and then later on, Riku definitely unleashes more of that dark power within him, to where he kind of turns into Ansem, and then he kind of has that guardian behind him, which obviously we know, it honestly could definitely be Terra, but, in the end, Riku is successful in that fight, even though, Riku actually got hurt. That's why he wears that bandage on his arm in Kingdom Hearts 2. But, it's just a really sad way that pretty much all the members of the Seesaw Trio got to, experience a lot, It's just really, really sad. Geruto says in Twitch chat, yeah, it was a combination of two things. With Shion gone, and actually removed the inhibitors on his power. Yup, correct. And then 2, Roxas was legit extremely emotional despite being a nobody. And then Geruto carries on the conversation saying, it's really sad that Shion was actually the reason he was arguably the most emotional character, despite his genetics being that of a nobody. Yeah, you know what? It's honest. You know what? Geruto is right. I forgot to mention that. Throughout later on in Days, because of Shion's existence, Roxas starts to become weaker. And, I guess you can say that, maybe Shion kind of served as a parasite like slowly like draining his power, and that kind of like took, you know, that kind of what made Roxas very weak, you know? And it's like, it's just like, damn, dude. But honestly, like, but everything going on with Days, it just like, you know, not only do we get to experience every other character, but we get to understand the story of Roxas. From the beginning of his time to where he spends with Axel and Shion, being a member of the organization, and later turning his back on them. You know, to where he's telling Axel, he's like, no one will miss me, you know? Like, it's just like, Roxas has gone through a lot of shit, dude. And it sucks. I see Valk is into the chat saying, Roxas, Valk, hello, welcome on in. Good to see you, Valk. I'm gonna go ahead and give you a hug. So good to see you, Valk. Welcome on in. You know, Valk, we were just talking about Riku. We were talking about Riku and Days. We got to talk about Days Riku. Jericho says it really, really, really sucks, but that's what makes Days beautiful. The game is painted in tragedy. And honestly, you know, like, taking a game like Days, you know, it literally paints the perfect picture for the beginning of Roxas' character arc, you know, because later on, you know, like, after the events of Days, you know, when Days is over, and now we're going to be jumping forward to Kingdom Hearts 2, you know, Roxas is in this digital prison created by Diz, you know, because back then, you know, like, Roxas, as a nobody, he had a life, you know, he was part of the organization, he had friends that he really deeply cared about, being Axel and Shion, you know, and, you know, even in the beginning, you know, he got to, you know, experience, you know, like, the kind of things that people do as friends. We got to see, you know, Hayner, Pence, and Olette running around Twilight Town and asking Axel, you know, like, hey, is this what friends do together? Is this what they do? You know, because to me, you know, like, Roxas definitely wanted to have that lifestyle, you know, because, like, even his battle that he had with Riku, you know, even he says, you know, I wanted to go back to the way things were, you know, I want to be with my friends, I want to be with Axel, I want to be with Shion, I want that life back together. Because honestly, because here's one thing that I've noticed, and honestly, I want to give a big shout out to my mod Sora, who actually brought this up when I actually was playing 358 over 2 days on Discord when I was on a call with him. So Sora pointed this out, by the way, and honestly, this is really cool. So during their arguments, their confrontation with Roxas and Riku in the world that never was, on the bottom screen of the DS, it kind of like definitely shows like the memories of both like Axel and Shion as, like, you know, just having the time of their lives, you know, enjoying the sunset while having some sea salt ice cream. And then you see on the bottom screen is that they get to, like, they're fading except for Roxas. You know, it's slow, like Shion is like fading out of the picture. Axel is fading out of the picture. And it's just really, really sad, man. It's really sad. Like it really sucks for Roxas. And then in Kingdom Hearts 2, you know, Roxas has no recollection of the events that happened in Days. You know, he doesn't remember Axel. He doesn't remember Shion. And then now he's in this digital world, this data version of Twilight Town, to where he's friends with 3 other people, to where he's really good friends with Hayner, with Pence and Olette. You know, they're enjoying their quote-unquote summer vacation. You know, where they talk about, like, yeah, you know, let's go to the beach, you know. There's a struggle tournament that both Roxas and Hayner, you know, get to participate in. They get to have sea salt ice cream together. You know, like, Roxas gets to experience that sort of life of having friends, you know, which is sad that he doesn't, you know, in the beginning of 2, he doesn't remember, like, the memories that he had in the organization with both Axel and Shion. And it's just really, really sad. Jericho says, that's why Diz worked amazing as a semi-antagonist. Bro was an absolute hater towards him and Naminé. Roxas was literally going through a mental breakdown, and Diz added insult and injury, rating to Roxas meeting Sora. The scene is absolutely well executed. It gets you mad and emotional. But then when Sora appears, you get mixed emotions of happiness. Exactly. And you know what? To carry on about that, you know, Roxas's memories slowly start to come back. Even though Sora is still having all of his memories being restored, you know, in the restoration room, while he's still asleep, you know, like, Roxas is slowly starting to have his memories come back. Like, you know, like, he slowly starts to remember Axel, and then, like, you know, and Axel starts asking him questions like, you know, like, hey, you know, what's our boss's name? You know, so because he's trying to remember, you're like, hey, you know, like, is this the same Roxas that I remember? Because, you know, because here, you know, because Axel remembers him, but Roxas didn't. So Roxas, you know, was very confused at, like, you know, like Axel. You know, that's why we see Roxas talking about, you know, like, talk about blank with a capital B, you know? But, you know, because I feel like, you know, like, trying to remember Xemnas was like a final test. And I feel like the reason why that back then when Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, you know, the reason why, you know, I'm sure that we didn't even get a chance to hear Xemnas' name was because, you know, we probably would have already learned who the final boss is of the game, which, of course, we know the final boss of Kingdom Hearts 2 is Xemnas. Xemnas is the final boss, so if we learned who that was, we would have discovered, it's like, oh, so this is the final boss of Kingdom Hearts 2. But, you know, jumping forward, you know, continuing on with Kingdom Hearts 2, let me bring up my webcam more. Excuse me. You know, so jumping forward with Kingdom Hearts 2, you know, Roxas, you know, slowly has his memories back, you know. Like, it's slowly starting to come together, you know. You know, like, heck, even having people like Naminé trying to, like, give him the answer of the kind of like, being able to get Roxas to understand his own existence. Where, you know, where she asks him, where she's like, don't you want to know about the truth of who you really are? You know, even Shion even mentioned, you know, not Shion, sorry. Naminé's the one who brought that up to him, where, you know, Naminé's the one who's definitely, like, trying to, like, give him that push. And then, like, that one scene to where Roxas falls out the clock tower, you know, like, a little bit of Sora is kind of, like, coming back to him, like, he's talking to Kairi, you know, where Roxas, in a way, kind of meets Kairi, where he's like, Naminé, and where he's like, Naminé's like, no, I'm Kairi. I'm not this girl. And then, you know, oh, whoa, wait, whoa. What happened here? Okay, that was weird. That was really, really weird. Whoa. That was really, really weird. But yeah. So, that scene, you know, where Roxas is like, hey, you know, you're that, you're that girl he likes, you know? Because, like, you have one person who's confused, and then one person asleep. Like, you know, like Kairi is trying to remember who Sora is, and, like, you know, like, and Sora is trying to talk to Roxas, where he's like, wow, you don't remember my name? Thanks a lot, Kairi. And he's like, I'll give you a hint. It starts with an S, you know? Like, a part of Sora is, like, slowly coming back to him. You know? And it just really, really sucks because later on, you know, jumping forward, you know, continuing on in the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 2, you know, where Roxas, like, fully remembers Axel, where Axel's like, oh yeah, you really do remember me this time. I'm so flattered. You know, every you guys know what we're talking about. But yeah, after that fight, you know, Roxas finally confronts Diz, like Roxas is in, you know, he's frustrated, you know, like we see him, like, later on, you know, destroying that computer. You know, he destroys that computer. You know, he tries to fight Diz, and then later on, he he finally crosses paths and then meets Sora. He finally meets Sora, you know, to where it was time for him to go back to where he belongs, where he's like, you know, yeah, you're lucky, you know, looks like my summer vacation is over, which, by the way, dude, I kid you not, dude, like, every time I see that scene, dude, I feel it right here, man. I feel it in my own heart, and it sucks. Like, damn. Man. Nomura, why do you... Nomura, it just likes to do this to people. Nomura! Why? Why, Nomura? Okay. Jaredzo says, I know I give Diz a lot of shit, but it's because he was a well-written character to the point where you see his role and he delivers on said role. Yeah, we get to learn about Diz, you know, aka Anson the Wise, and all that kind of stuff, you know, but, you know, like, Diz slash Anson the Wise has, like, pretty much has done so much for the Kingdom Hearts series. Also, Wildcat Diana, hello, it's so good to see you. Welcome on in. Thank you so much for tuning into today's podcast. So we're talking about Roxas. Welcome on in. And then Roxas whips out Oblivion Oath Keeper. Then Semi confirms Roxas is definitely starting to remember everything because that was arguably him the strongest for getting put into the digital Twilight Town. Exactly. Yeah, Spider is feeling the feelings. I see it now in the Twitch chat. Spider is slowly starting to understand the feelings. You know, and then honestly, you know, like, after Sora wakes up, after Sora wakes up in the pod, you know, here, we don't need this anymore. Yeah, and after Sora wakes up in the pod, you know, and where Roxas is asleep inside Sora, you know, he gets to, like, because I feel like that what's really going on is that throughout Kingdom Hearts 2, you know, Roxas is obviously experiencing what Sora is going through, you know, like he gets to see Sora's world, like the world that Sora's in with his own eyes while he's sleeping inside Sora's heart, you know, so Roxas gets to see all the kind of people that Sora meets, you know, especially sometime after Sora wakes up, where Sora actually confronts Hayner, Pence, and Olette. Like, way before he gets on the train in Twilight Town to go to the mysterious tower. Like, heck, even where Hayner's like, hey, you know, Sora, you know, like, have we met before? You know? And then, and y'all know where I'm coming from with this. That random tear that sheds down Sora's eye, you know? That's Roxas doing that. That is definitely Roxas, you know, experiencing that through Sora. Because we gotta keep in mind is that Roxas is seeing everything that Sora is doing. He may be, around that time, he may be asleep inside Sora's heart, but Roxas is experiencing everything that Sora is. So the moment he saw Hayner, Pence, and Olette before he got on the train and then he starts to cry because he misses that lifestyle because he doesn't get to have that anymore. And it's just really fucking sad. You know? It just really, really sucks. Spider's like, now who's gonna have ice cream with? Oh god, not the scene, not the ending from 358 over 2 days, where he's like, Shion, who else will I have ice cream with? Dude, that scene fucking hurts, man. That scene hurts me. God. Jared says, you can tell Roxas was hurting because he even tried to take back control from Sora after Axel sacrifices. Exactly, like he tried. And you know what, Jared? When we get to Dream Drop, we're gonna talk about that. So I definitely want so Jared, I want you to do me a favor. Please hold on to that what you just said. Hold on to that for me because I want to talk about that when we get to Days. And y'all know that one scene from Days I'm talking about. We definitely so Jared, please hold on to that. Hold on to it. That's a good one. We will. I definitely wanted to bring that up when we get to Days, for sure. Roxas had to watch that moment happen, and he couldn't do anything. It's a lot, dude. Diana says it hurts. Resonance. You know, his friends are right there, but he can't speak to them. I know, like he's, because he's just like, you know, because he's inside Sora's heart that, you know, he can't, you know, that he can't, you know, like he can't get to talk to him. And, you know, I forgot to bring this up. You know, the reason why Roxas kind of looks like Ventus, you know, there's one thing we got to keep in mind as well. You know, why Roxas looks like Ventus is because, you know, at the end of Birth by Sleep, you know, Ventus is put into a deep sleep. You know, Ventus is put into deep sleep, and then he's sleeping with Sora inside his heart. And that's why Xigbar was able to see Ventus through Xion. And another reason why that Roxas looks like Ventus is because of the events from Birth by Sleep. So that's definitely a real reasoning for that. But I feel like that, you know, like, now I also want to say as well is that there is one important scene that I definitely do want to talk about, and I would like to show it here for this episode. We got to talk about the episode to where Sora and Roxas confront each other mentally in the world that never was. And I would love to play that scene. I definitely was going to get to that. I definitely was. So, we are gonna get that scene. Okay. Because I definitely want to get to that scene, because that scene to me is definitely important. It definitely is important, especially for Roxas's character arc. So let's go ahead so we're gonna go ahead and watch it. We're gonna go ahead and watch it. But also, for those of you guys who are watching this YouTube, if you have made it this far, thank you so much for being here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys are so awesome. Thank y'all so much for being here. You guys are incredible. Okay, so I had the scene pulled up, but before that, let's go ahead and read Twitch chat real quick. Jerzo says, thankfully, they actually tried to make a somewhat of a distinction between Roxas and Ven. If you look at their older models, Roxas has Sora's same face model, even his eyebrows. Ven has a slightly different face model. Mm-hmm. This is true. Okay, so let me go and move my webcam a little bit. So, let me see. Yeah, this is what we need. Okay, so I want to show this to everybody, and then let's talk about it. So I'm gonna play this video for you guys. So let's watch it together. Here we go. Because this is important. We needed to talk about this. Where they meet each other.
Donald! Goofy! Huh?
And there he is.
A Keyblade? Who are you?
Someone from the dark.
You can't be Riku.
Riku. I defeated a Riku once.
You what?
Tell me. Tell me why he picked you.
This scene really hurts to watch. This scene is sad, man.
I see. That's why.
Such a good shot. I like that shot. Okay, hang on. You know, there is one scene I definitely do want to show. Because I feel like they forgot to show it. So let me go ahead and go back. Here, let's go to this one. Okay, hang on. Not here, 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 not here. Right, okay. This one. There we go. This is what I want. Okay. This one.
You seek answers. You feel nothing. Nothing is real. I can give you purpose.
Roxas.
That is right, the new you.
He earns the sigil.
Look who's finally awake.
Axel.
Or maybe I have it wrong. Might be time to sleep. Soon we won't be able to talk like this anymore.
Does that mean it's time for me to go back to where I belong?
You know, I've been thinking about something Namine said. Roxas, are you really sure that you don't have a heart? Is it possible that we all have one? You, me, her? Or is that just wishful thinking?
I don't know. I can't just look inside.
Yeah, I guess not.
But I figure, if there is something in there, inside us, then we'd feel it, wouldn't we? And if so... No, never mind.
Come on, don't leave me hanging.
Sora will find the answer we're looking for. I know he will. Because he's me.
True enough.
Thanks.
Man, I miss the old times. Still got it memorized? The day we met, and you got your new name, you and I sat right here and watched the sunset.
Yeah. This place is home. Me, Hayner, Pence, Olette. We've shared a lot of adventures.
You'll see them again. I know you will.
Yeah. You're right. Well, I should go. Sora's waiting for me.
Yeah, I suppose he is. Man, this is some good ice cream, huh?
Take care. Okay?
Right back at you, buddy.
That tear, man. Damn. That tear.
You make a good other.
Okay, hang on. Hold on. Where is it? Hang on.
You make a good other.
Okay. I want to talk about this. The whole scene that we just watched. I definitely do want to talk about that. But, okay, but let's definitely... Let's see. Go into Twitch chat. Let's see. It hurts a little more when you realize Roxas actually let his guard down. He actually almost took back control right there and now, but he didn't. Diana says him realizing Riku chose Sora because how they are mutually best friends and like makes peace with the situation at the end of the scene is so great. You know? Val says the dialogue in the Japanese version of the scene is different. Oh, Val, if you want to, Val, you are definitely welcome to share in the Twitch chat. You are definitely welcome to share everybody what is said in the Japanese version. So feel free to share if you like to. I definitely am be interested in that. So the reason why I wanted to pause on this scene right here is because obviously, you know, this is the title of this episode, A Good Other, you know? Because like when we look at the scene where Sora and Roxas had their confrontation, you know, they have their fight, they have their battle. Roxas is like, you know what? Tell me why he picked you. You know, obviously, you know, he's talking about his conversation with Riku in the world that never was, and then like, you know, he's definitely is looking and like he's looking around and then he's like, I see, that's why, you know, because he understands that Riku obviously chose Sora because that's his best friend, you know, because, you know, Riku and Sora are arguably best friends, you know, they're really close to one another, just like how, you know, Roxas and Axel are close and they are best friends. And then, like, I feel like that throughout this fight, you know, like, you know, as Jericho was pointing out, you know, Roxas over here is trying to regain control. I guessing at this point to regain control of existing, you know? He's trying to regain control of existing. So I feel like, you know, at that point to where he's using the Oathkeeper and Oblivion to like attack Sora, to where he's like randomly like trying to hit him. I like to me, that is Roxas's pain. That is the pain and anger that Roxas is going through. You know, because Roxas, you know, I guess in a way, you know, misses everything that misses the lifestyle that he had, because he feels that, you know, like, you know, he's not ever going to have that ever again. He can't have that anymore. And it really sucks. And then at the end of this fight, you know, he tells Sora, you know, what it says right here, you know, you make a good other, because he's telling Axel in that piece of memory, he's like, you know, Sora's me. So I get it now. But in Sora's mind, definitely when we get to Days, you know, and probably just a little bit of recoded, you know, Sora tries to get Roxas to understand that, you know, that Roxas, like, heck, even he mentions it in 3, when we definitely get to 3, where Sora tells Xemnas and Ansem, where he's like, you know, like, Roxas does exist. His heart is inside my heart, you know? But this scene right here alone just really hits a lot, you know? Because what was the whole point of Roxas's character arc? Being able to exist, you know, having all this pain and hurt and frustration that he's dealing with. Like, it's so tragic, dude. Like, he had to go through all of this. You know, like, because he wanted to have a lifestyle to where he felt like, you know, he had a home, he had friends who he could be with. You know, the purpose of just existing and connection. You know, there's that word again. I've been saying it a lot. Having that connection. Like, it's just there. It's just really there. It's just all over the place. Jericho says, and they were fighting on Sora's own station of awakening, and Riku was on it. Yeah, you know who else was on it, Jericho? You know who else was on it? So in that one scene where Roxas is like rapidly hitting Sora while Sora is at a guarding stance, if you looked closely at Sora's left foot, Whose face is Sora's left foot standing on? Kairi. Sora's foot is on Kairi when Sora is trying to block that attack. His face is on Kairi because y'all remember the beginning of 2 is that Roxas kind of had that connection with Kairi. You know, being able to talk with her for a little bit, even though he was looking for Naminé. And then she was like, Naminé? Who are you talking about? I'm Kairi. I'm not her. You know, it's definitely, it's just that connection. It's definitely that strong connection again. Georgia says, to take into consideration, Roxas arguably has the most potential to be one of the strongest Keyblade wielders in the world, yet he's the same person who doesn't ever want the Keyblade. He wants him. Exactly, like, the thing is, you know, Roxas just wanted to have you know what, and you're right, Jurito. Roxas didn't get to choose this, you know? He just wanted to have a normal life, a home where he felt like he belonged, a place where he could exist, where he can have friends, just have a normal life. He didn't get to ask for this. He didn't ask for this, and it's just so tragic. Do you mind if I link this scene with the translation? Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And honestly, Valk, I want to tell you this right now. Valk, so you don't need to ask permission to drop a link, and the only reason why I say that is because you're a mod. Since you're a mod, you don't need to ask me for permission. Since you're a mod and I 100% trust you, you don't need to ask for permission. So you are okay in my book, Valk. That's why I say talent is a blessing and a curse. Valk says Roxas was born with a lot of talent, and Valk says I just like asking. No, that is totally as fair. Okay, hang on. There's gonna be a cut. Nope. Out of there. Get out. Get out. Not that. Okay. So, I want to see that. What Valk actually shared in the Twitch chat. So, we're going to go ahead and share that from the Japanese version. So, I would like to share that. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and go find it. And you said this is fully translated, right? Right, Valk? This is 100% Make sure you put captions on. Oh, they are on. They are on. Okay, so we're going to look through it. Okay. You know, a key... Alright, there it is. A Keyblade. Okay, so he says that. So definitely... Let's see. Oh, a dweller from the dark. You know, like, when he's like, who are you? You know, a dweller from the dark. You know, you can't be Riku. You know, the same line, you know, where Riku's like, I defeated someone named Riku. What did you say? And he's like, tell me. Why were you chosen? Referencing to, like, why did Riku choose him? Okay, let's see. Let's see. Alright, Sora. Alright, so right there, what I was talking about, Jurito, so look at his foot. He's on top of Kairi. His foot is on Kairi's face. You know, having that connection to where Roxas actually got to communicate with Kairi even though Sora was still asleep. And Sora still kind of, like, talked to her. Like, even though at the time she was confused where... You know, where Sora's like, hey, you don't remember my name? Thanks a lot, Kairi. Let me see. Okay, skipping forward. Okay, so we're gonna come here. Okay, you seek answers. You feel nothing. That's definitely one of the same ones we saw earlier. And then Xemnas gives him the sigil. There's Roxas. The new you. Okay, now maybe it's time to sleep. Soon we won't be able to have a conversation like this again. You know, do you really don't have a heart? Maybe me and Naminé, even though what he's like, you, her, obviously we're... referencing Naminé. But the heart is something we can't see. Maybe it's something that we can feel. If that's the case, no, I should stop now. Sora will find the answers. Got your new name. This is my home. Hainer, Pence, and Alette. Gotta go. Sora's waiting for me. Man, this ice cream is really salty. See you later, Axel. The crying. Okay, let's see what he says here. I'm sure he's gonna say you make a good other, but we're gonna find out. So right here he says, just like me. That's a good oh my god, Valk. It's also no, I did that on purpose. I muted the video. I muted it. I did that on purpose. I muted it. Yeah, I kept the video muted because since we already seen this before. But oh my god, where he's like, just like me, you know, like, oh, you make a good other. And then later on at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2, you know, at least like Roxas and Naminé were able to have like a life to where they can actually meet again. You know, where he's telling Naminé, he's like, hey, you know, as you know, like hey, as long as Sora and Kairi are together, then we get to be together. You know, so they definitely have that connection. Oh, there's that word again. There's that word again. I told you guys in the beginning I was gonna keep saying that word a lot. Connection. That word again is just always gonna be there no matter what. And then the one we have here in English, you make a good other, the title of this video. You make a good other. Like, being the other him. And it just really, really sucked, especially for, like, the end of Kingdom Hearts 2. I see Mage. Mage, how's it going? Long time no see. It's been a while since I've talked to you, but welcome on in, Mage. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for tuning into the podcast. Mage says, I gotta go. That line hits knowing everything we know. Yeah, it really hits hard. It really, really does. Valk says, when he says, why were you chosen in Japanese dialogue, it's implied because Xemnas chose Sora, not him. Because Xemnas chose Sora. This is true, you know, because, like, it kind of, it kind of goes back to what we saw for days, Valk, before you came in. You know, where Roxas having that conversation, where Roxas has that conversation with Xemnas about Xion, and then he's asking, who is Sora? And Xemnas' reply is, the connection. Which later on, we're going to get there once we get to Free. Hung me, Ofa. Mage, it is so good to see you too, man. I always enjoy talking to you and seeing in other people's streams. It's always good. It's always cool to see you. Can we get a shout out, Valk, for Mage? That was a bad. No, you are totally fine. You are totally fine. You are totally good. Okay. Excuse me. So, now that we covered days, now that we covered 2, I definitely do want to bring this up. And I know this game is so underrated. And let me tell you guys, by the time of this recording, you know, even though I definitely have been a fan of the series for 9.5 years, or heck, maybe longer, according to, you know, depending on how many years Future Me is watching this video now. I'm sure he's definitely is still enjoying his time being a Kingdom Hearts fan, hopefully. Definitely much longer than 9.5 years. But I will say this, though. You know, I haven't, like, around this time, and probably Future Me has probably has already done it, which, by the way, Future Me, if you're watching this, congratulations for completing Recoded. So, because right now, on this day, in the present, I haven't played Recoded, but someday Future Me will. And he's already played and beaten, and he can be like, you know what, I did it. But, I know that Recoded is still, like, it's very underrated, you know. And I know that Recoded, you know, a lot of us know that it has, like, that weird hate and that love and hate relationship. You know, yeah, there's people who like it and some that don't. And you know what? It's totally is okay. You know, everyone's, as I personally feel that everyone's opinion should definitely be valued and respected. You know, so it's totally understandable. I mean, again, for me, you know, I've only heard stories about the game. I've only seen the cinematics, but I've never played it. I mean, I do have a working copy. I just need to play it. I just need to play the game. One day I will. One day I will. I'll definitely will play it. It certainly has been a while. Hope you've been doing well. It's so good to see you, Mage. And you are definitely are welcome from that shout out by Valk. Mage says, yeah, here's hoping your future self so as Kingdom Hearts was you do not. Oh, thank you so much, Mage. I really do appreciate that. I really do appreciate that a lot. So, let's go to Recoded. Oh, shit. Recorded. Okay, Recoded Roxas. Okay, let's go to Roxas. Okay, so we're gonna... So, I feel like that when we get to Recoded... So, when we get to Recoded, this is where that Sora is starting to understand more of Roxas. Because keep in mind, in Recoded, this isn't the real Roxas. This is more of Data Roxas. This is Data Roxas. So, this is where Sora is having his confrontation with Data Roxas. So, and to feel like, you know, and from here, you know, this is where, like, Sora is, like, starting to understand, like, later on, he's going to understand, like the purpose of Roxas existing, you know, being able to feel and experience as Roxas's pain and hurt. So I feel like this is where this is where it all comes down to here. Valk says in the Japanese version dialogue, she's referencing to that scene we saw from Kingdom Hearts 2 between Sora and Roxas in the Station of Awakening in Cage 2. She says, it's made clear that Roxas wasn't chosen. Unlike the English version, tell me why you picked you. It sounds like Riku chose Sora. But in translation, Valk is actually referencing Xemnas. Okay, yeah. Yeah, Valk, thank you so much for sharing that with everybody. Thank you so much, Valk. You are an MVP. Valk says that game does not exist. No. It doesn't. But, you know what? We're going to go ahead and watch it anyway. So, let's go ahead and get to it. So now, we're going to watch Recoded, and then we're going to talk about it. Then we're going to see that scene in Days where Sora where Sora is still in the dream worlds, but he has a conversation with not a Data Roxas, but the real Roxas in Days. You know, the whole, you guys don't want to talk about it, the whole, like, oh, Sora, see, that's why it has to be you. And then after Days, we're gonna end it off obviously with Kingdom Hearts 3. So let's check this out. Let's watch it, and then let's talk. Here we go. So this is Sora talking with Data Roxas.
You've used up all the cards, I take it? I would ask if you enjoyed your little trip. But we both know that you've forgotten it. That you're feeling pretty empty.
No, I'm not. I may not remember who I met, but I do remember that I met them. And knowing that I've forgotten them, I miss them.
So you heard. I warned you. Don't you remember what I said? That hurt will drag you down into the darkness. You have to get rid of all of it.
No, I don't. I can keep the hurt because it reminds me of something important. It lets me know that what I've forgotten is crucial. That's enough. I won't run from it. It'll stay inside of my heart until the day I remember.
The darkness will take you first.
If I put the hurt aside, I'll lose my ties to all the people I care about. My mind's made up. I may end up falling into the darkness, but I'll carry this with me. I'll only get rid of it when I remember everything, and not a day sooner than that. I'll keep the hurt with me for the time being. It's all that I have. It's what holds the pieces in place. I accept that.
You say you accept it? It's not a game! It's way past time that you learned what real hurt feels like!
The anger and frustration.
Come on, Sora. Do it! Finish me off! Why won't you do it? I get it. You've seen through my disguise. I'm just like everyone else you've encountered in this place. Made of data. I'm not even worth the effort. Is that what it is? Guess there's no point in destroying something if it never existed. Is that right?
Not at all. You say that you're an illusion, but you certainly pack a really big punch. You said that you'd show me hurt, and you weren't wrong. Actually, the hurt that I just felt
There's a bug in my
was more
microphone.
than that. Sure, it might have hurt while we were fighting, but I sensed a different kind of hurt from you. It was kind of like an intense, sharp pain. But it felt sort of familiar. Almost like it was my own. As if we'd been connected. Like right then we shared the same hurt. If somehow it brings me closer to people in that kind of way, then carrying around a little hurt can't be all that bad.
Can't be all that bad. All right, I give up. Here. You pass, Sora. Congratulations, you understand hurt.
Sora finally understands
Now,
it.
Use this to find the truth.
What do you mean?
My role was to see if you were ready to take ownership of the hurt inside you. And now that role is done. Nothing left for me to do but go away.
Are you gonna go back home?
That line sounds familiar.
I don't know if I really have one. But there's a place I'd like to be.
A place? Where? Oh! What's this feeling? I've got memories that don't belong to me. A place to call home. And a sunset that's comforting. My first and my last
Summer vacation.
You can rest easy. I've got you now.
Let's see, I believe that is about it. Yeah. That scene alone, man. Wow. That scene alone. Hot damn. That scene alone. This is arguably one of Jez McCartney's best performances. So, that scene we saw for Recoded, I feel like that now, you know, Sora is like trying to get to Roxas. You know, because at this point, you know, Roxas, you know, not only is he like knowing about his existence, but Roxas is trying to like get him to understand, like, you know, like, yeah, you know, you don't understand what I've been through, like with all the pain and hurt and all that stuff. But Roxas is trying to get through to him, and with Sora's like, yeah, you know, I totally get it, you know, where he's like, you know, after our fight, you know, like, yeah, you really do pack a powerful punch, and I totally did feel it, you know, and there was a couple lines that really got to me, that also had that connection. There's that word again, connection, where Roxas tells Sora, you know what? You put an end to me. And that was the whole connection that we talked about since the beginning of this episode. Ventus telling Terra and Aqua in the Keyblade Graveyard and Birth by Sleep, you know, put an end to me. Shion telling Roxas and Days, put an end to me. Now, not the real Roxas, but a Data Roxas telling Sora, where he's like, do it! Put an end to me! You see that? There's a strong connection. And heck, even at the end, before Roxas tells Sora, like, you know what? There's a place I like to go back to, a place that I call home, where Roxas says, it's my turn to go away. Doesn't that sound familiar? We all know, most of us who have experienced Days, we know that line. You know, it's my time to go away. That's the same thing that Shion told Roxas before, you know, when she died, where she tells Roxas, it's my turn to go away now. And now we have Roxas over here telling Sora the same thing, where he's like, it's my turn to go away. So it's just that big parallel connection. That connection. It's just, it hurts, man. It really, really hurts, because like the moment that Data Roxas goes back to Sora, you know, we saw Sora's like, you know, like, what are these memories that I'm feeling? You know, summer vacation, you know, sunsets. Like, Sora is starting to feel it, because here's the thing that I know. So personally, you know, like, when you look at Roxas and Sora, you know, to me, Roxas has a hard time struggling to feel all the pain and hurt. Like, he has a hard time feeling it. But now with Sora, on the other hand, you know, being the hero and the Keyblade wielder that he is, you know, Sora gets to feel that. Sora doesn't have a hard time trying to feel all that stuff. But when it comes to Roxas on the other hand has a hard time, you know, dealing with all that pain and hurt. But with Sora, like, trying to get through Roxas, Sora's like, he's telling this Data version of Roxas, he's like, that pain and hurt, that fight we have, you totally do pack a powerful punch. I get it. Sora tells him that. He's like, I get it. Like, he understands it. He feels it inside his own heart that he feels it. And it just really, really hurts. In a way, Data Sora was a test sub to see how Sora would react to gaining Roxas' memories. Hey, it's almost like Nomura wants to bring Roxas back. I know, right? Foreshadowing? Diana says the moral of Roxas' story is the right to exist as you are. You know what? That's a really excellent moral, Diana. Because I feel like, you know, when we were talking about the start of this podcast episode, you know, Roxas is not only doing through pain and hurt, but the purpose of existing. Now that we're done with Recoded, now there's one scene we need to watch in Dream Drop. You guys know exactly what we're talking about. We have to watch it, because to me, this one is very, very important. This is definitely as important in terms of Roxas' character. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pause it right here. Okay, so let's watch the scene, because I feel like we're, like, the amount of time where Roxas tells Sora, you know, that's why it has to be you. We're going to talk about that. So let's play this out. Let's check it out. Here we go.
Come on, wait up. Who are you?
This is important. Here we go. This is where Sora meets the real Roxas.
You're Roxas. How can you be here? Am I dreaming? Come on, say something.
This could have been the other way around.
Huh?
Keep that sentence in mind. This could be the other way around.
It really has to be you.
We're going to talk about that too.
What do you mean?
There are so many hearts that are connected to yours. You're me, so you can feel what I felt.
No. Roxas, you're you. We're not the same. I wanted to tell you that. That you deserve as much as I do to be your own person.
Sora, see? That's why it has to be you.
He's feeling everything. All the memories are just flooding back in through Sora. Everything that Roxas has gone through, Sora is feeling it. Okay, we don't need this part, but let's, yeah, we don't need that part. We already totally get that part. But I feel like that scene alone. So let's talk about that. You know, where he says, you know, Sora, see, that's why it has to be you, and this could have been the other way around. But before we get to that, let me see what Diana says. Diana says that scene shows Sora is the real emotional, mature protagonist. Like, he immediately gets it and immediately knows what the right course is. Give Roxas a way to be his own self. Exactly, because Roxas chose to try to take Sora away. Sora immediately takes the high ground and says, "We both get to live." Exactly, because you know what, Diana, I like that because that's a really good scene. That's a really good scene because, you know, Sora, you know, in that scene we just watched, you know, Sora is like trying to get to Roxas, where he's saying like, you know, Roxas, you're you, you know, we're not the same, we're entirely different people. And Roxas is pretty much telling you like, this could have been the other way around. And I feel like where he's getting at with that is the point is like the fewer amount of times to where Roxas try to regain control just for the purpose of existing. And then, you know, like, dealing with all that pain and hurt and, like, having those memories flooded into Sora when the one that we actually got to solve for ourselves, you know? Because, like, here's the thing, you know, Roxas had a hard time trying to feel all of that. But Sora, on the other hand, he doesn't have any difficulties feeling that. That's why we saw in Recoded, he's like, you know, like, where he's like, oh, where is this pain I'm feeling, you know? Like, because Sora gets to honestly feel all that stuff, you know, compared to Roxas. Because, like, Roxas definitely has been referencing, you know, like, you know, this whole time, while I dwell within your heart, I am seeing and feeling everything that you're going through. Like, because he's probably saying, well, you know, imagine if it could have been this way. You know, what if this was me in your shoes instead of you? You know? But with everything that Sora has been through since the very beginning, you know, this is why Roxas is to where he accepts, you know, as like Jericho was saying in the chat, where Sora was like, you know, like, oh, you know, like, Sora, see, that's why it has to be you. You're the one who you were chosen. Referencing that fight that they had in the world that never was in Kingdom Hearts 2. Tell me why he picked you. Why did Xemnas pick you? Why? Why did he pick you when at the beginning of Days where he tells me, I can give you purpose? Because throughout Days, Roxas is over here trying to figure out his purpose after receiving the sigil from Xemnas. Figuring out who he was, learning about his existence, going through so much emotions as a nobody, from including being a member of the organization of dealing with pain and hurt. It's just, like, Sora is now trying to get that now. And like, even in Recoded, where he's telling him, he's like, dude, I get it. Like, I feel it now. I feel exactly what you're going through. And then in Days, he's saying, like, Roxas, you're you. We're not the same. So he's trying to give Roxas a purpose to, like, hey, you know, like, hey, you know, like, hey, if I can exist, then so can you. And I feel like, you know, as we were saying before, obviously this foreshadows like, hey, you know, is Roxas going to come back in Kingdom Hearts 3? But, and where he's like, yeah, Sora, see, this is why it has to be you. But honestly, you know, that's a really good scene in Drain Drop. It's a really amazing scene. Diana says, not to jump into Cage 4 theory territory, but Sora is proving he is a powerful empath. Yes! I 100% agree with that. And honestly, before we close this episode, Diana, we're going to talk about that. Like, after 3, which we're going to jump into right now, we're going to discuss about, like, you know, like, how much of a bigger role is Roxas is going to have in Kingdom Hearts 4. I mean, it probably may be big, maybe small. We don't know. That is up to Papa Nomura to decide. Okay. So now we're gonna dive into Roxas coming back in Remind. Roxas finally comes back in Kingdom Hearts 3. But keep in mind, y'all, we need to mention about, of course, you know, the word connection, the word that I've been, you know, the word that I've been saying the whole time. So we're gonna dive into that. So let's watch this together. Let's see. Skip to that. Going through that. Okay. Yeah, I want to show this part real quick. You know, where we actually see where Roxas is slowly starting to come back to where he's talking through Sora.
Are you?
I just wanted to show this little scene real quick. Okay, right here. This is where Roxas talks to Sora.
Don't do this. Wait. It's all right. You can stop now.
Here it comes.
It's all right.
Shion. There it is. There it is. Basically, Roxas is definitely trying to find his way out. You know, because honestly, I feel like from here, like when Shion looks at Sora, you know, she looks at Roxas. She definitely sees Roxas. Because one thing I forgot to bring up back when we were discussing Cage 2, you know, that definitely does explain why each of the members of the organization, like every time they look at Sora, you know, they kept calling him Roxas. You know, because Roxas definitely is part of Sora's heart. So that's why they kept seeing, like every time they look at Sora, it's like, wait a second, Roxas? You know? Okay. Let me see.
Why?
Okay, Heart.
Roxas?
I need your help.
And then Roxas is gonna come back.
Got it. I have an idea. Wait for my signal.
Okay, let's go. Okay. So this is where he comes back. Roxas finally returns. Honestly, this scene was so cool, dude.
Hands off my friends.
I love this scene in 3.
It cannot be.
Roxas!
My turn.
Roxas.
This is impossible. Where did you get a vessel?
Same as you.
Same how?
Most of the organization's members, they traveled here from the past as hearts. And you had replicas ready and waiting. One for each of them.
Who told you?
I owe my return to many. Some of them people you knew.
Ansem the Wise. Zexion.
And others too. It seems you're not as good at winning over people's hearts as you think.
Ah, I see.
There was one last thing I needed in order for me to be whole again.
Here it comes.
A connection.
There it is.
Sora helped me find my way back here. To my friends.
Roxas.
There's something me and my friends have to reclaim. Something that connected our hearts. That's what's binding me to this world. The last key. I need your help to get it back.
Got it. I have an idea.
Okay, where is it? Okay, I'm trying to find that one scene that I was looking for. Where's that one scene that I wanted? But honestly, seeing legit like Roxas coming back, it's so good. And whoa, we have a lot from we have a lot of comments from Jericho, so we will definitely read that. We got a lot, so let's go ahead and catch up. Jericho says Roxas' story technically concluded in 3. But here's the thing, despite that Nomura was studying Roxas to return for years, it would have been so weird to not have him still being an active supporting character after going through all that trouble. Yeah, this is a good scene, and also seeing Spider. Spider, welcome on back to the chat, buddy. Where he says, as a wise shaman once said, he lives in you. About the scene, years ago, according to Nomura, Xemnas was literally stronger than a theoretical, fully powered Roxas. Yet in this scene, Xemnas got scared when Roxas came back. Exactly, you know, because, and while I'm trying to find that cutscene that I wanted, I'm going to find it. I'm going to find what I want. The cutscene I'm looking for. But honestly, when you do think about it, you know, because, like, connection obviously has been that word that I've been talking about this entire episode. I know I keep bringing that up. But because honestly, it's the truth. Because, like, that's what Roxas learned from the beginning of Days as a... You know, in Days where he asks us, you know, who is Sora? A connection. And what is everything that Roxas has been through? He's made a lot of connections, right? So that's exactly what he's been doing. And, like, that definitely was his way of needing to come back. You know? And it's like, it's just really... really interesting, like, in how sad that, like, you know, okay, I found the scene that I wanted. I found what I wanted. But the fact that, like, in 3, you know, that Roxas was able to come back with the help of, like, Sora and a bunch of other characters, you know, like, and, you know, it's like that Roxas said, you know, there was one thing that I needed in order to be whole again. A connection. Now, but in purpose of existing, this is where things played out, because this is the cutscene that I was looking for. Okay, I found it. This is what I wanted. Okay, right here.
Roxas, shield! Get what's ours!
Is this the sigil?
Yeah. That's the mark Xemnas gave us. It's what connected us from the start. It's the foundation of the bond we share.
The mark will disappear along with Xemnas, and that's fine. I just wanted to reclaim it for myself. It's how our bond came to be.
This is the connection we needed.
That's why I needed Sora's help. So that we could end this battle. Once and for all.
Okay, I want to say I think that is it. Yeah, that is pretty much it. So you see right there, that was the whole connection. You know, like, oh, you know, like if this disappears, then Xemnas disappears, and that is definitely is fine. We live when we interact with others. If you isolate a person in a forest their entire life, they existed, but have they lived? Like, honestly, you know, it just, you know, it really shows a lot, like, with both the Sea Salt Trio's connection, you know, like, honestly, so they feel like, you know, like, the sigil was more like a connection, that their bond was just so strong, because, like, because honestly, because I feel like this mostly, not, because, hear me out, I feel like not only did this apply with Roxas, but with Shion and Axel and the rest of the members of the organization, when they got their sigils, I feel like that was the whole thing that what Xemnas gave to them. Where he's like, you know, like, oh, this is the new you. I can give you a purpose. And then from there, you know, that's where he begins recruiting them into the organization. And, like, honestly, like I feel like the memories just started flooding back to them, to where they spent their carefree days in Twilight Town just being together. So, like, to me, I feel like the few words that best describes Roxas' story of him being a good other in comparison to Sora is, like, Roxas, from the start, according to Days, he's been through confusion, he's experienced friendship with his friends with Axel and Shion, you know, he's experienced pain and hurt, but most importantly, this is definitely as important, the word I brought up so many times, and I know Diana has even said it herself right now in the chat, connection. Connection is the key essential word throughout Roxas' character arc. Roxas has had a strong connection with majority of the characters. Even though he like, you know, the purpose of existing and feeling like, hey, you know, this is why I feel like I need to be here. And telling Sora, like, oh, you make a good other. This is why it has to be you. Reminds me of the thing that Riku said back in Dream Time. He says, if your hearts are connected, you'll reach her. The sigil did disappear with Xemnas, but if it was the Sea Salt Trio, I would want to at least reclaim my identity for myself if I ever had to disappear. I'd rather it disappear with me. Exactly. But, you know, it really shows a lot, and that honestly explains a lot of Roxas' character. And to me, you know, when we look at a character in Kingdom Hearts, Roxas has one of the most tragic stories out there in the series. Roxas has a really, really good story, and I really do like Roxas a lot as a character, because like it's like I was saying at the start, ever since I beat Days, I totally got it. I finally understood it. I understood Roxas, Shion, Axel. I was like Sora, what he tells Roxas in Recoded. I get it now. I get it. And that was me. I totally get it. I know what they've been through. And it's just like, it really got me here in my own heart. That's why Roxas is now my favorite character in Kingdom Hearts. Because I feel like I relate to him. I get him. You know? And like, Roxas is just a really relatable character, especially the other two members of the Sea Salt Trio. Now, to kind of like conclude things here, like what his role is going to be in Kingdom Hearts 4, honestly, we don't know. I mean, now that we know that a lot of the characters are back, like Terra's back, Aqua's back, Ventus is back, Roxas, Shion, Axel, Naminé, you know, and Sora's out in the world of reality and Quadratum. Now, I feel like that for Kingdom Hearts 4, you know, we probably might see Roxas. We might see Roxas and a few other characters, but we don't know how big or small their role is going to be. We don't know if they're going to be benched in Kingdom Hearts 4. We don't know. Of course, that's up to good old Papa Nomura and see what he wants to do with their characters now that they're back. So, honestly, I feel like that we'll probably get a chance to see Roxas, but we don't know like how big or how small his role is going to be in Kingdom Hearts 4. The only person who we know is going to have a big... to me, the characters who are going to have a big role in 4 are Sora and Riku. Sora and Riku are going to have the bigger roles in Kingdom Hearts 4. As far as Roxas and the other characters, that's up to Papa Nomura and see what he has to say. Jerta says, Roxas' story is one that started off tragic, but eventually he became an empowered character from his previous character arc in 3. This is absolutely true. And Roxas is such a really great and unique character, and that's why I really do like Roxas. Roxas is such a unique character. And he's great. Roxas is just fantastic. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So, Ventus might too because of regaining his Union Cross identity. Probably. You know, if I ever do an episode on Ventus one day, Diana, I would love to talk about that. But now that I pretty much said as much as I can, that is going to be all the time that I have for today. Thank you guys. If you guys made it this far, thank you guys so much, and thank you for 10 episodes of the Paopu Scoop Kingdom Hearts podcast. We've definitely have marked to 10 episodes. That is fantastic. We're getting close to almost a whole year already of me doing this. It's almost going to be a year, and that is crazy. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. It's been really, really fun. It's really, really fun. If it wasn't for Roxas, Sora wouldn't know who he was today. Exactly, Spider. So, let me tell you guys what's going to happen for October. For next month's episode on October 13th. So, let me fill you guys in. So, to kind of kick off that Spooktober vibe for Halloween, let's meet back here on October 13th as we are going to dive in to the Realm of Darkness. We are going to explore together and discuss the mysteries that lie within the Realm of Darkness. So, you know what? Let's talk about the Realm of Darkness on October 13th to kick off Spooktober month. So let's do it together, guys, shall we? So, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. And if you guys are watching this on YouTube, please don't forget to do the following by liking, sharing, subscribing, all that good jazz. It really helps out. And let me know in the YouTube comments, tell me what you love about Roxas as a character. I want to know your thoughts in the YouTube comments. Tell me about your personal thoughts and feelings towards Roxas. And is he your favorite character? If not, that's okay. You definitely are welcome to share. What are your thoughts on him? So anyway, that's all going to be the time that I have for today. So till then, and I'll see you guys next time for the next episode. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Born Kokiri. Thank you so much for 10 episodes of the Kingdom Hearts podcast, and I will see you next time. Take care, and may your heart be your guiding key.